Hello, Republic of Gamers, and welcome to ROG Pulse for a very special episode where today we are diving into the Ryzen 7000 series and the X670 motherboards. My name is Jake Klinsky. Per usual, Whitson Gordon is joining me here today. Whitson, how goes it?
Goes well. I'm excited. I'm pumped.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
We've got a special guest joining us from AMD, Donny Woligroski. Did I nail it?
Oh, yeah, you did good. Thank you.
Yes.
Beautiful,
yes.
Jake.
Well, Donny, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us here today as we are pumped to finally be, stepping forward into this next generation of AMD.
I'm pumped to be here. Thank you, Jake.
Yeah, so all these processors and motherboards are releasing tomorrow, but we are here to give just a little bit of a sneak peek today at what is in store. Donny, you want to start by telling us about what's up with the Zen 4 architecture? What's special this time around?
Oh man, it's a laundry list this time. It's not just one thing. So, I mean, when you release a whole platform along with a massively updated architecture, it's a it's a big deal. So just on the processor side, there's colossal power efficiency advantages, huge single thread. I think 30% more total single thread performance because you've got this huge clock speed jump.
Nuts.
Up to almost 6 gigahertz now, in conjunction with this big IPC jump, and then you've got the platform's a huge piece of it too, right? Because you've got these higher TDP slots. So this, you can take a lot more power for people who want multi-thread performance. Power means more multi-threaded performance. It's a huge way to scale that side of it. So. And then you get to the platform and all the magic there, and so I don't even know if there's one thing this generation. Often there's like one big focus. I guess if I had to do the big focus, there's two things. There's everything with the platform, and there's just the raw performance increase. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you're right. It is a special time to be building a PC because it's everything with this platform is new. Not only do you have this huge jump in performance, but you've got DDR5, you've got PCIe 5.0. It's just everything happening all at once, like a tidal wave of stuff. Let's talk a little bit about performance. So you mentioned 30% boost in single-threaded performance, which is just insane. I mean, from the numbers that are already starting to come out today, even the 7600X, the lowest processor in the product stack that you guys released, is like destroying most of the 5000 series processors.
Yeah,
it's just crazy how much of a jump you guys have had generation to generation since Ryzen's launch.
Yeah, it's surprising to me. Like I didn't know. It's surprising me. The engineers work magic every product cycle, and I'm like, how do you guys do this stuff? Like you would have thought that they'd start running into some constraints, but no, man, they keep running with it. They're like, yeah, we got lots more headroom. We can still do these things over here, and we but it's crazy. Like these guys have done miracles, and. It used to be okay, speed bump this gen, and maybe there's a manufacturing process bump, and you get a couple percent here and there, and it's like, no, these guys are hardcore. They know what they're doing.
Seriously, and yeah, you mentioned like almost like a whole gigahertz performance boost, clock speed boost over
800 megahertz, pardon me, on the max boost.
It wasn't that long ago that we were gunning for 5 gigahertz, and now here we are at like 5.7 at the top end.
And I did not expect us to go this far. Like from what I understood, I don't know if you guys remember, but if you were back in the day, we were, when they started multi-core processors in the first place, it was because like physics kind of punches you in the face after 5 gigahertz. Like physics, like, nope, you're not going to do that. We're done with that. So. I really don't know. Like they've gone farther than I figured. We certainly had to invest in parallelism. Certainly, to squeeze more out of it, because if you look at the way clock speeds have gone up in the last few years, sure, it's nice to get that bump, but the number of threads has just exploded, right? And now the developers can take advantage of that. But that you're having a 16-core, 32-thread, 5.7 gigahertz on a 170-watt slot. Like these things are embarrassing the first Threadrippers, which at the time everyone was losing their mind. They're like, Threadripper, and I was like, yeah, okay, I can do that on my desktop, no biggie. So it's crazy how far and how fast.
Absolutely. I gotta ask, Jake, if you could pull that picture up again. What's the story behind the new IHS design? This is such an interesting look for a CPU that we haven't really seen before. I'm really digging it. Is there a reason behind it in terms of thermals or just the circuitry on the chip? What's up with that?
Right. So this is really funny. So they so the package engineers kind of went off and did their own thing, and they didn't tell anybody they were doing this. This is a pretty radical thing, and they had a bunch of arcane packaging reasons. I can't remember all of them. It wasn't anything that you'd be impressed with. It was like, super engineering stuff. And one of the guys I work with, his name's Anil. He kind of was the first guy to see this, and he ran into the office. He was losing his mind. He's like, "This looks terrible. We can't do this. This is so different." And it was like, that looks pretty cool, actually. Like, I don't have a problem with this. And you would not believe the amount of internal meetings we had, kind of deciding if we hated it, because it was a 50-50. Like, some people thought it was the end of the world. Like, you can't make it's so ugly, we can't do it. And I was like, guys, this looks really cool. This is different.
Looks cool.
Like, it's got a lot of detail on it, and it, to my mind, if you can set yourself apart in any way that's not terrible, like, it's kind of good. Be like, hey, this is our brand now. This is how our CPUs look. I love it. I think it's really
funny
cool.
that people argued about it so much when it's going to be covered by a cooler anyway. This is like the equivalent of spending 3 hours designing your character's face only to be a first person for the entire game. Yeah.
I think it's more of an insight into the kind of people who are working at AMD. Because
just perfectionists.
Well, just like it's funny. There was absolute terror about this in some people's minds. Like, absolute terror. Like, this is going to ruin it. No one's ever going to buy it. It's ugly and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you just calm down. It's good. It's all right. And at the end, I think more people like it than hate it. So I'll call it a win. I'm really happy about it. Yeah.
I like it.
So let's start kind of, there's so many pieces to this, like you said, but maybe we should start by detailing the full lineup for people who have been a little bit out of the loop, right? So you guys are releasing 4 chips, correct?
Correct, absolutely. So there's and that's just the first wave. So I'll be clear. Like, this is gonna, as with every platform, as you go forward, there's gonna be more options and stuff. Now we're starting at 105 watt TDPs with the Ryzen 5 and 7, and then we're going to the new 170 watt TDP with both of the Ryzen 9s. So you've got the same core configurations: Ryzen 5 6-core 12-thread. 5.3 max boost, I think. The Ryzen 7. The Ryzen 7 is 8-core 16 thread, so that's when you're starting to get your typical, enthusiast type CPU. That's 8-core 16. Then you've got 12-core 24 thread with the 7900X Ryzen 9 and 16-core 32 thread with 7950X. And you've got way more cache with the Ryzen 9s. 76 meg total cache on the 12 core and 80 megs on the 16 core. So, and then that's before we even do the X3D parts, which
I was going to say no 3D cache
kind of talked about
yet.
Yeah,
though?
not yet.
Hopefully,
not really necessary out of the gate, I don't think, because they're such impressive performers. But you can't make everything all at once. So
yeah, absolutely.
Keep your eyes peeled. It's coming. It's part of our portfolio now. We consider it like it's an AMD technology advantage that we leverage when it makes sense to, and for sure we'll be coming out with X3D versions of these in the future.
Awesome.
That's
but
great.
For right now, it's this is a really good starting spot. You've got the enthusiast class CPUs, because this is really the people who are going to go into jump into a new platform
right away,
especially since it's DDR5, PCI Gen 5, all the future looking stuff. So, and then we've got, it's interesting. Our competitors made, hey, you can buy a DDR4 or DDR5 board, and we're like, we're just going to keep the AM4 stuff going for folks who want to invest in or maybe want to leverage their older RAM, or want that cheaper, the cheaper platform cost in the short term. There's certainly nothing wrong with a 5800X3D. Like, that's not a slow chip in gaming by any standard, right? So you still have this great scalable platform that you can go up to on the low end if cost is your focus. But if you want something long, if you want to play the long game, this is just a great way to go.
And so that brings up a good point. So you talked about, kind of, you're going all in on DDR5 with this platform rather than doing kind of a DDR4 DDR5 mix. And I think part of that speaks to the longevity of the sockets that AMD has kind of pushed in the past, right? It's not, oh, we're not going to support these two memory platforms going forward, because this platform is the future. This isn't a stopgap for a year. Like this is going to be, for a while, and you're going to want the newest stuff to be ready for the future. You guys have committed to 2025 for the AM5 socket and maybe beyond.
Correct.
Was kind of the language that
AMD
AMD's used. That's exciting.
Well,
So-
it is. This was unheard of for people who are just getting into this. Like before AM4, your platform was 1 or 2 years, and then you buy everything all over again. So people are now like, oh, I got to invest in DDR5 and this and that. It's like you have, like, before you did that every couple, every couple years. You just had to rebuy everything. So, and we didn't. I was there when we were pitching all this stuff and figuring out what we wanted to do with AM4. And frankly, that's one of the biggest accomplishments I think we've done is keeping a socket alive for this long. We had no idea how hard it would be. We had no idea the problems that would come up. Our partners like Asus obviously had to work with us through this stuff because nobody tried to do this before. No one ever tried to make a platform last this long. It's mind-blowing when you think about it. And the stuff that happened that was really hard to deal with, it would have been so easy just to be like, okay, this is a reason for us to let's cut our losses and start over. And we didn't, and neither did you guys, and thank goodness, right? So, but we learned a lot too. So that's why we have a bit more confidence, but we also are a lot more aware of the landmines going through this time. So we're trying to be, hey, it's our goal to keep this going for as long as makes sense. And that's, at least 2025. We don't want to promise anything after that because who knows, maybe, some accelerated technology makes sense to get a new platform. But we know what we're dealing with now. We have bigger flash biases on the boards to kind of accommodate more CPUs. That was a big problem, right?
I
we had
remember,
no idea
yeah.
we would run out of space. So all of these things, right? So once again, I'm super proud of what we did with AM4. Like nobody else has done that. It's a huge reason to get into one of our platforms.
I mean, you should be. It's the first time I've ever upgraded a CPU and stayed on the same platform. I never thought that was something I would do. I was just like, well, I'll just keep this platform until it dies. And it was a huge jump going from even just a 2600X to a 5800X.
Oh yeah. Like that's no joke.
Who would have thought that you could make that kind of a jump on the same motherboard with the same RAM?
It's a big deal to have that upgradability, with
an system. Oh, sorry, Jay.
No,
I was going to say, and that's exactly why we try to grab all these future-looking technologies when we're going to do a platform, right? So yes, you could argue PCI Gen 5. There's not that much out right now. You could argue DDR5. It's not the right time. Now, from the memory side, we know that our memory partners are investing big into, shifting their probably
DDR5,
they're shifting their manufacturing focus onto that inevitably, right? I mean, it's a new standard. It's going to become the thing that takes over. And then PCI Gen 5, you're starting to see drives in November, I think, almost twice as fast. So all these things, it just makes a lot of sense if you want something to last.
And I would argue it is the time for DDR5, or it's very, very close to it. I mean, we're seeing prices drop. We're seeing games actually start to get big performance boosts from DDR5. Like the age of DDR5 is here.
Well, and it's always one of the things where that benefit's going to ramp up with time too, right? When the platform launches, DDR5 is not going to have as much of an impact. But once we do see like this next generation of the 7000 series comes out, we're going to see DDR5 being more and more beneficial. So one thing that I've seen questions for in the chat, and this information may already be out there, but the pricing. Can we talk about the pricing of these CPUs?
Oh, I mean,
yes.
Sure. I mean, I think we hit the right spot with these. I think I'm pleased with the positioning versus last gen and how we kind of bought some of the segments down a bit.
Yeah. So I think the Ryzen 5 7600X is going to be $299.
Yeah, I believe so.
Which is a great price for a killer gaming CPU.
Yeah. And that's also like if you want to jump into a new platform, but you're okay with scaling your CPU up later. If all you do is game, a 7600X is a great part. And
absolutely.
And you're gonna, I mean, it's competitive with like the highest end Core i9 on desktop. and that's a crazy thing for an entry level part.
Yeah.
So that's why it's
So
kind of
yeah.
exciting.
$299 at the entry level, the low end the 7600X, which is going to treat you phenomenally for gaming if that's what you're looking for with a chip. I mean, I used to just tell people buy a 3600X. You know, a couple generations ago, that's going to be the same standard just because there's a ton of value in that price point. At the top end, if you want to go full on power, the 7550X is $699. So, you know, obviously you're getting a lot more, you know, potential with that. And especially if you're looking in the editing space, I think that's kind of
The beast of a part, though.
Yeah. If you're doing, you know, full on video rendering and editing, that's when you're going to start to feel a little bit more impact. As a streamer, I always go high end. But, you know, usually... I
usually go for the Ryzen 5 part, and it even for the occasional video editing I do, it treats me very well.
Yeah,
but yeah,
sure
if I were doing it full time, that 16-core thread or a 16-core 32-thread processor would be chef's kiss.
My 5900X is great. I don't feel like I need the 5950. 5900 is plenty for me. But
so we were talking about DDR5 for a second. Do you want to speak to AMD EXPO? That new technology with this generation.
Yeah, sure. And one thing I didn't want to say about it too is I think this is the right time also because a lot of times if you're too early with a DDR5 standard or a DDR standard, you're going to actually get a bit of performance regression because the latency isn't there yet. And we finally hit a point where I think we're at like 62 nanoseconds at the right settings, which is you know, it's not really a regression. You don't see any memory regression. Right. And then like you were saying, Jake, it's just going to hockey stick over the next few years, right? Like this is the first gen stuff. AMD EXPO. So we just AMD'd memory overclocking, I guess you could say. Like we do what we do. We like open standards. We like royalty-free standards, and we like transparent standards. XMP is none of those things, so it made sense for us to just propose this, and the memory manufacturers were all on board. This is a great idea. We can. It's a self-certifying standard, so the manufacturer has this list of things they have to test, and but they fully publish all these crazy low-level subtimings that you don't know what they are on XMP, and so this just adds a level of transparency, a level of control too on motherboards that support EXPO. You can actually go change those things, whereas before it was you know, it's somewhat obfuscated as to what XMP timings were happening. So that's really it.
And if you don't want to, you want something simple, you just turn it on and go. So for those who missed it, EXPO is kind of AMD's version, more open standard version of XMP on the Intel side, which is kind of a one-click RAM overclocking. If you buy DDR5 6200 RAM, it's one click in your BIOS and you're running at that speed with the correct voltage and the correct timings for what your RAM's been rated for. It's very, very easy. I've actually already done it myself on a
and we've
AM5
tested
board.
this kind of technology in the past, and it's always just like almost identical to what a manual overclocking is. So like, just save yourself the effort and time. These guys have worked hard to make this technology available for you. It's worth using. Just toggle it on, and you'll be thrilled.
I should point out though that you can use XMP still. It'll still work, right? Okay. You can, in AMD boards, it's just EXPO's preferred. There's an EXPO logo if you're buying RAM and you want to get something that's tuned for us, but just want to make sure people don't think that there's no more XMP support because it's still there.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So, we talked briefly about PCIe Gen 5.0. We have 4 new chipsets right now, correct?
Correct.
On the high end, we've got the X670 Extreme and the X670, and then we have the B650E and B650. And the biggest difference between those is how many PCIe 5.0 lanes are available for kind of graphics and storage, correct?
So kind of. So the anything X670, you get double the USB ports. You get double the SATA ports. That too. The lanes on X670, so every X670 board has a total of 44 PCIe lanes, so that's industry leading, and every B650 has 36 total lanes. Now the PCIe 5 stuff is where it gets a little more interesting. So anything Extreme has a full 24 lanes of PCIe Gen 5. So you've got 16 lanes on the graphics side, and that's separate from you've got 8 lanes for other stuff. So you've got a by 4 a PCI Gen 5 NVMe slot usually, and then there's 4 just general purpose PCI 5 lanes. So both of those have the same number of PCI Gen 5 lanes. So B650 Extreme, anything with Extreme, you've got all full access to the CPU, direct to CPU PCI Gen 5 lanes. I believe we're the only ones who have separate storage that you don't have to share with the graphics lanes, which is really cool.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah. Now, if you go down to non-extremes, it gets a little more nuanced. So the X670 non-extreme has the PCI Gen 5 storage lanes enabled, but not graphics. So if you're a creator who doesn't need the graphic side, but you really like that quick storage, that's probably your option. And then the B650s have no PCI 5 enabled. So it's just a base level, the non-extreme base level 36 total lanes of PCI, Gen 4 and Gen 3.
Awesome.
So
Makes
sense.
So you have a lot of choices depending on your budget and what you kind of plan on putting in your machine. And we'll be doing some testing with that stuff as we kind of go through this generation. I've got a few things to show off this week in terms of all of that. So stay tuned, guys. If you're not following us, hit that follow button. We'll be doing a live build tomorrow. We'll be doing a little bit of a BIOS tour, a little bit of overclocking on Thursday, right here on Twitch.
You're building with a 7900, right?
I have a 7900X and an X670E. It's a Crosshair Hero. So yeah, it's a pretty sweet motherboard paired with a pretty sweet processor.
So
and I
are pretty boards.
Pumped.
Yeah, gorgeous board.
Yeah, it is. We're going to actually show off our motherboards in just a few minutes to kind of go through that lineup. Donny, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been totally my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Really appreciate the look. We are super excited for these processors, and we will be, again, detailing them more and more as we go, and we'll be showing them off all week long.
I'm looking forward to playing with them more myself, so I'll
it's
going to
be
your stream.
Good couple years. I'm excited.
It feels cliche to say this is just the beginning, but moving into a next generation, we're going to be seeing the real potential of these chips and the new platforms moving forward. So it's going to be good. But Donny, thanks again for joining us. We'll let you head out of here so we don't talk your ear off about our motherboards.
Totally my pleasure, guys. Have a great one.
All right, cheers. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Time to dive into some
motherboards.
It was
going to resize your webcam. I told you I was like 100% chance that it's going to send you to be giant. That's okay. We'll get that fixed here. Okay.
Milky Ice, my headset is not blue because of team. It's just the color that it matches.
Milky Ice has been he's been shouting Team Blue in chat all day, and that's okay. It's okay to have your favorite.
You're saying that my headset is Team Blue, which is ironic because my blue colored PC is actually an AMD machine.
I'm on AMD as well.
I'm just obsessed with Ryzen ever since it came out. I love this platform, and I'm super excited for X670E. Like I said, we're gonna be going through some really, really cool stuff, showing off some of our features on these new boards this week. So follow us. But right now, we can actually give you a tour of our full X670 motherboard lineup. Should we get into it, Jake?
Sure. Your webcam's going to be giant on that scene too, but that's okay.
All right.
There it is. He's massive, but that's okay. So we do have an article out there where you can look and read about the whole lineup. These motherboards all go for sale tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
The sale
tomorrow
date,
is the day.
So we're less than 24 hours away, I believe, from these hitting the shelves and being something that you can go out and purchase. But yeah, there's a whole lineup, and we talked about the B650, the X670, and the Extreme variants, and the whole. But within that, there's way more options, right? It's not just 4 different motherboards. There's Prime, there's TUF, there's the Strix. We've got the Crosshair pack, of course, being one of our high ends. But yeah, which is your favorite, Whitson?
Oh man, that is a really tough. It's a tough call.
He's trying to say he likes TUF. Just kidding.
Oh no, I mean I do actually. The TUF board looks beautiful. Sorry, I'm changing my headset color. There you go, guys. Are you happy?
Oh yeah.
There we go. Or a sync for the win. So I kind of feel like, okay, so if we're looking at the article, let's go in the order that Eric laid these out in the article. Okay. He didn't start from the highest end. Instead, he started with the high-end board that most enthusiasts are going to want to get, which is the ROG Crosshair X670E Hero. And this is you might have to scroll down a little bit further to get there. There's a long intro that details kind of all the features of the platform in general.
Well, we can look at these pictures. They're pretty.
They are pretty. Is this the right article?
Is this the wrong article?
It's possible that I linked you the wrong article.
You might have.
If you go to EdgeUp, it should be the big one on the front page.
We'll do it live. We'll just go to the front page.
Do it live.
We'll do it live. Here we go.
There we go. Yeah, it should be that one.
Okay.
Maybe that's the old one. Maybe the other one's not up yet.
I did. No, this was different.
That was my fault.
A different article.
Oh, is it? Okay. Oh, yeah, that is. Okay. That's the correct one. There you go. My bad, guys. Thank you, Lucky, for putting that link in the chat so everyone can go check out that guide if they want to dig a little bit deeper. We have spec tables for all of these motherboards. So we're just going to kind of do a quick overview today. And then if you are kind of deciding between two, you can kind of go dig in and make sure the one that you're looking at has the right amount of USB ports and PCI lanes and things like that. So let's start here with here we go. Stop.
Yep.
ROG Crosshair X670E Hero. This is the board that I have that we're going to be doing a build guide with tomorrow. It is friggin' gorgeous. Oh my gosh. So
and they've kept a similar aesthetic on this board for a while. This is a very loved motherboard series. I mean, I have a Crosshair 8 Hero in my build as well.
I have a Crosshair 8 Dark Hero.
There you go. Right. So this is definitely a very popular one. I mean, the IO shroud is look at it. It's beautiful. It speaks for itself.
That lighting has like two different kind of unique RGB patterns, which are really cool. It's just like it's not just your typical RGB lighting. It's got like a really cool kind of flashy design. And then you've got this really cool kind of dot matrix ROG logo on the big heatsink down at the bottom. That big black part is all one big heatsink for all of your M.2 slots, which is really cool. So that's all integrated.
Right there.
There's three M.2 slots under that black part. Two of them are Gen 5. One of them is Gen 4, I believe.
Okay.
And then you have two PCIe 5 X16 slots for graphics.
I just love that we're now at that point especially with these motherboards where it's
like
you're not even using SSDs anymore. You're throwing in, 2, maybe 3 M.2s into your PC. Some of these boards support more than that. And you're that's it. No SSDs, super minimal case build at this point.
Yes, and that's the number of M.2 on the motherboard, but you can also expand it. I believe we have a PCIe 5.0 riser card, and I believe that's actually included with this board, and that gives you another Gen 5 M.2 slot. Yeah, now, I don't know why you're putting that many Gen 5 M.2 drives in your PC at once, but you certainly can if you want to, and it would be awesome. We've got excellent power delivery on this. This is for not necessarily extreme top of the line overclockers, but if you're overclocking and you really want to push your system, we've got excellent power delivery, large heat sinks across the VRMs, the M.2 slots, everything. This is the board for discerning gamers and enthusiasts for sure. Wi-Fi 6E, 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, and dual USB 4 ports as well, among all of the other USB ports. So this is, again, kind of like we were talking about with Donny, right? This is setting you up for the future. X570 is still there if you're on a budget and you want to build a great gaming PC that you're gonna keep that PC forever. You're not gonna upgrade it piecemeal as you go. You can do that with X570, and it's gonna give you great bang for your buck. But this is setting you up for the long-term future with PCIe 5.0, DDR5 RAM, all of that good stuff. And so if you're the kind of person who kind of likes to upgrade as you go, or you want the latest and greatest, this is where it is.
So this is the Crosshair Extreme.
This is the top end motherboard. Yeah. So this is like the big brother to that Hero board. And this thing is even more awesome. This is like accept no compromises, take no prisoners. This is the best motherboard for Ryzen right now. This is an eATX form factor, so it's a little bit wider. You want to make sure your case is compatible with a board that size. We've got RGB galore. We've got an anime matrix display on that IO shield, so you can kind of put all of your custom little animations there, which is just sick. Superb power delivery for the best high-end overclocking experience you can get on Ryzen 7000. DDR5, obviously, 2 PCIe 5.0 X16 slots, obviously. We got M.2 PCIe 5.0 slots, Wi-Fi 6E, 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, all of that stuff. The other thing that's impressive on this board is that we have a Supreme FX 7.1 surround sound chip for like really excellent onboard audio, which is nice. I mean, again, if you're building an absolute balls to the wall PC, this is our crown jewel this generation so far.
I want it.
I know, right? Yeah. So I super excited about both of those boards and all of the excellent features and just high quality components that are going to drive this generation for sure. I love the color on the dot matrix logo on the M.2 heatsinks as well.
Yeah, it looks really nice. Just some stats if you guys want to take a look. And of course, this article was dropped in chat. You guys can peruse.
I'll drop it again. I'm just going to drop this like every 5 minutes as chat continues to scroll by. And again, these will all be available tomorrow, so you can go check them out at your favorite e-tailer as well.
So chat's been asking it a lot, and I don't know that we can share it today. Are we dropping price info today, or is that tomorrow?
I don't believe we have pricing here today.
Okay, so tomorrow. They go for sale tomorrow, so
yeah, you'll see the pricing in the store in like 24 hours, less than 24 hours. So there's no pricing in this article. So I'm gonna.
I haven't seen that information anywhere myself either.
Yeah, I haven't.
Sorry, team. I tried.
So at risk of someone getting mad at me, I'm not gonna say
it. Will these be in physical stores? Yes, these go for sale tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Head over to your favorite Micro Center or.
Yeah, they should be available. I
don't know where else they sell motherboards today.
Best Buy,
RIP
Micro
Fry's.
Center, Fry's.
No, Fry's is dead.
Fry's is dead.
Remember?
Fry's never existed where I live, so I don't know.
Yeah. We don't sadly have Micro Center in San Diego, which was like my favorite place back in Michigan. Alas. Yeah. Okay, so let's go down to the ROG Crosshair X670E Gene. This is the last Crosshair board that we are releasing today. This
actually passed Gene.
Yep, it's right there. It's right there. Yeah. Stop. Stop scrolling so much.
Okay, you're here. We made it.
This is the Micro ATX Crosshair board. This is a little bit smaller. I'm of the opinion that not enough people give Micro ATX a chance. It is such a great platform that is, if all you're doing is putting in a processor and a graphics card and a PCIe.
Don't try putting a 4000 series in there though.
Yeah.
Right. Like these exist. But not for those cards.
It depends on the case, right? So the thing about the nice thing about this is not only do these boards tend to be a little bit more affordable, because you're paring down a lot of those extra features that most people don't even use, but you can fit it in a more compact case, not super compact like mini ITX, but it's just a little bit more compact, leaves a little bit more room on your desk. I think more people should check it out. This board has a reflective ROG logo on that IO shield with some RGB lighting next to it. Google Docs just signed me out of my notes, which is
dude, that always happens during a live stream every time.
Yeah, I can still read some of it. We got one PCIe 5.0 slot there for graphics. You've got one PCIe 5.0 M.2 slot, which again is expandable if you wanted to use the ROG Gen Z.2 card. But again, you only have that one PCIe 5.0 X16 slot. So, and then again, Wi-Fi 6E, 2.5 gig Ethernet, all of that good stuff. USB 4. You're in a lot of ways, it's one of those boards where you get all of the stuff you need and you don't have to compromise on the stuff that you don't need. It's not like stepping down and you're like, well, I'm stepping down in price, but I lose all this stuff I really want. Like the people who are buying this board don't need that stuff. It is a great kind of bang for your buck high-end board, which I know sounds like an oxymoron to some, but I'm excited about that one too. All right, let's check the Strix.
We already looked at the Extreme. Because I had those pretty photos.
Yep.
So we're skipping there. The Wi-Fi edition.
Yes. So here's the Strix board, and now I can't read its name. The X670E gaming Wi-Fi. So if you're just gaming, you want a full ATX board because you're in a regular mid tower or whatever. You don't need all the specialized features, but you want just like a solid gaming board that's gonna take you far. Strix is a great place to be.
Yep.
It's got a lot of the same like kind of design accents and stuff. You've got that color on the IO shield. You've got the really cool Strix logo there on that integrated M.2 heat spreader down there. It is a really, really cool looking board. You've got two PCIe 5.0 X16 slots and three PCIe 5.0 M.2 slots. So you've got PCI 5.0 for days. for
and
anything.
All the M.2s are still, again, hidden here. They're under a shroud. They've got the heatsink on them.
Which is cool.
Just visually, they're just part of your machine at that point.
Because you don't want to get a machine this beautiful and then end up with an M.2 drive that has like an orange PCB or something. It's just like making everything look bad. You got the beautiful heat sinks to put on top of it.
Yeah, and there's even just a question in chat like, is this motherboard convenient for beginners? Absolutely. Like there's even like we've got the Q-latch design where you can release your GPU with the press of a button. There's all these really nice features on this. The M.2s
My personal favorite is actually the Q-latch for the M.2 drives.
Yeah.
So on previous motherboards, if you guys remember, you had these tiny screws for the M.2 slots to screw them in, and they get lost so easily. I have dropped one into my power supply on more than one occasion.
Same. And then if you don't have another one of those screws, if you can't get that screw out, you're
it's
you're
such
screwed.
a pain. Yeah, literally. So this is like one of my favorite features to come to motherboards in ages is that instead of using a tiny screw for the M.2 drives, you just have this little latch, and we'll show this tomorrow when we do the build. It's just you just go, you rotate it, and it holds it in place. It's so genius. I don't know why everyone doesn't do it. And then a button to get your graphics card out, because the bigger graphics cards get, the harder it is to sometimes hit that latch. I actually use a chopstick.
I have a steel ruler. Chopstick makes a lot more sense than a steel ruler because I'm always like so careful. I'm like, just gonna release it on my.
I don't have it with me. But are you talking about the little ruler that comes with our graphics cards or came with our graphics cards last generation? Yeah, that's perfect. That's
I use that. It's to release the GPU because you can't reach it normally. But now with the Q-latch, it's great, and also great for the M.2s, and it just makes it easier to install. Any maintenance you need to do, when I compare motherboards modern day to what they were like when I started building, like over 15 years ago, it's so much easier to build a PC nowadays.
It is absolutely crazy, yeah. So this board, I could see this board being really great for like a streamer starting out too, right? Because it still has all of those extra PCIe 5.0 ports and all the ton of USB ports.
Everything you need
as opposed to like the micro ATX board, which is like, I'm straight gaming, I want a high-end board, but I don't need all the extra slots. This is like, I'm straight gaming, maybe streaming, don't need high-end overclocking features and things like that, but I want to be able to load up expansion. Here you go.
This is going to definitely be the more affordable option for that streamer, right? Because I think it's got probably the same amount of USB ports. I'm actually not sure how many ports are on this.
You can look right there.
We are looking. Am I blind?
It's going to be under rear and front IO there.
Yeah.
So the other cool thing on a lot of these boards is that some of these boards support quick charge through the front port on your case, provided your case supports it. So that's a really cool. If you want to charge your phone in the front port, you can do that with some of these boards, provided your case supports it. That's a pretty cool feature too.
Yeah, this is plenty. Everything you need on that board.
Yep.
If you're an aspiring streamer.
These are also pretty cool boards. The X670F gaming Wi-Fi and the X670A gaming Wi-Fi. These, again, only one PCIe 5.0 slot. That's what most people are going to be using. So again, if you want to save a little bit of money, that's what you need.
Yeah, but you can still throw a capture card on there or something if you needed the extra PCI down here.
Well, you got an X16 slot at the bottom. It's just not necessarily going to be PCIe 5.0. But you could throw any other expansion down there that you need. Onboard M.2, two of which are PCIe 5.0. You've got DDR5, Wi-Fi 6E. The difference between these two boards, because we kind of combined two boards here, the F is this black board, which is just gorgeous. I love that teal and blue color scheme. And then the A, which is below, is kind of a black and white board, which is, hey, wow, it logs me back in. That's cool.
Nice.
So this is cool. It's not an all white board. It's kind of like a black and white mix, which is
this white or is it moonlight white? I think this is what we call moonlight white, where it's a little bit more of a silvery look.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a really cool color scheme, and if you're kind of building with a mix of components, I could see some really, really sharp builds with this if you play your cards right in terms of like making the color scheme match.
Yeah, this is a badass look. Like
Yeah.
It is
you were
a
just talking
different
about how
aesthetic.
your wife has a Panda machine.
She has a Panda build, which is proper black and white. This is more of a silver, but you know, you can absolutely design a killer machine with this. And we've got some great PSUs that go with this. We've got there's all kinds of great pieces that go with
great
it.
PSUs to go with all of these boards.
Yes,
the new ROG Thors and Lokis, again, ready for the future, right? Like that is, So all right, this one is really cool. You know me, I'm a mini ITX boy.
Yeah, you are.
I have my mini ITX PC back there, and I'm just so impressed with what we've been able to do with mini ITX the past couple generations. We've got that stacked heatsink for the what is it? I see I've now been logged out and I can't see for the M.2 and the VRMs there.
Yeah, right here.
It's just so brutal. PCIe 5.0 X16 for the graphics. You've got two M.2 slots, one of which is PCIe 5.0. Again, this is a very, very compact board. This is like what? It's this big here.
It's cool.
So we had to fit everything on there. But what's cool is that we have the ROG FPS2 card, which adds the front panel headers, 2 SATA ports, a clear CMOS button, some stuff like that. That's kind of like a little card you punch in there, which makes it a little bit easier to build with a board like this. And the other thing that we're releasing with this, if you scroll down, that makes mini ITX just so much more convenient, is this new external box. If you scroll down, we should be able to get a view of it. See, I'm just going to have to go through this motherboard guide now because my notes are dead. This thing is cool. So this is the ROG Strix Hive. So it's an external control interface that provides, it's like an external DAC, right? So with a board that small, we want to be able to put as high quality of a digital to analog converter for your audio as we can. And the best way to do that is to give you actually an external one here. So you've got an ESS Saber 9260Q DAC, a headset jack. You got optical audio out, which is, I don't know how many people still use optical, but I love it. It's you can pry it from my cold dead hands. An integrated volume knob for all that. So you've got really high-end audio coming off the board, and you don't have to waste room on the board for that stuff, right? You've also got a Type-C port. You got the QLED array, so you can see if your motherboard isn't booting properly for some reason, you're running your RAM sticks isn't in all the way or something like that. You'll see the error code on this instead of having to dig your head into your tiny PC. There's even an easy mode precision boost overdrive button for one-click overclocking on this external box, right? So cool. This is so cool. BIOS flashback buttons. Yeah, it's, as someone who loves mini ITX PCs but kind of hates building them, because I have pretty small hands, so I'm actually okay.
Yeah, we should just say somebody was asking about a beginner motherboard. Don't build a mini ITX. It's tighter, it's smaller, it's harder.
But this one is going to be more beginner friendly than every other mini ITX board you've ever seen. And I'll say this too. How beginner friendly, actually my first PC I ever built was a mini ITX machine. The amount of beginner friendly that a build is less about the form factor itself, like the mini ITX, and a little bit more about what case you choose, because there are mini ITX cases that are quite roomy.
That is true.
Right, and give you a lot of room to work and very space efficient. And then there are the people like me who just want to cram as much as we possibly can into the tiniest case possible, just to see if it's possible. And that's not the kind of build I would recommend as a beginner, because that is very difficult. You start having to go through some weird power supply stuff. Like some people are using external power bricks from laptops with a converter to power the machine. So the power supply is external, or you're using so my build is
that's cool.
TX power supply. Yeah, it's super cool. Not good for your first build, I would say. But this, pair this with the right case, I think a beginner could totally do that. And you'd have a really, really compact machine.
Yeah.
Finally, the TUF Gaming X670E Plus and the TUF Gaming X670E Plus Wi-Fi. I'm sure you can decide the difference between those two motherboards. One of them has Wi-Fi and one of them does not. Because you know what? Not all of us use Wi-Fi. I don't use Wi-Fi on my desktop at all. And so if I could save some money by not going Wi-Fi, sure. Although I will say it's nice to have as a backup.
But what I'll also add to that is recently my buddy, and we have a tech support group chat, and he's been building PCs longer than me. He was asking why don't motherboards have Bluetooth? Why do I always have to buy a Bluetooth dongle? I'm like, well,
it's integrated on the Wi-Fi.
If you buy
chip.
a Wi-Fi motherboard, which he uses Ethernet, you get Bluetooth with it. And he's like, I had no idea. So a lot of people actually look over that. So in the Wi-Fi board might be worth the extra like $20, whatever it is, for that iteration, just if you think that you're someone that wants to use Bluetooth rather than, you know, taking up a USB port or whatever for a Bluetooth dongle.
Right.
So.
And you know what? Bluetooth is nice to have, again, like just as a fallback, the same way that Wi-Fi is, right? Because sometimes, okay, oh no, I lost my dongle for my mouse. What do I do now? Well, you could just use Bluetooth until you find the dongle, right? Or something like that. Or like, oh no, my wired headphones, I sat on them and now I can't use them. But good thing I have Bluetooth earbuds that I can use in the meantime. That kind of stuff is nice to have as a fallback if you can spring for a little extra cash. And the Wi-Fi at the same, right? You know, I if you're moving apartments and like, oh, I don't have Wi-Fi or Ethernet in this room and I need to use my desktop. All that stuff is handy. The TUF, I love the look of the new TUF board. Like this is beautiful.
The TUF aesthetic has evolved
in
wonderfully.
a completely different way than ROG, but yeah, the TUF aesthetic has evolved a lot, and I just am totally digging it.
Same.
You've got a PCIe Gen 5.0 X16 slot here, 4 M.2 slots, one of which is PCIe 5.0, and you've got, you know, the QLED diagnostic array, all the stuff that you would want on a good, robust motherboard that's going to last you for a good long while. Because again, hopefully the socket will last you a good long while. Yeah, you got Wi-Fi 6E on the Wi-Fi version, so you're not skimping on Wi-Fi at all. 2.5 gig Ethernet. This is a solid board as well. 7 fan headers, like.
Yeah, and this is going to be a really good price point. We can't give you guys prices today. Like I said, these will all be on sale tomorrow, so you'll have the information then. But this is going to be a great price point, I guarantee you. TUF always is. That's just kind of what the product line is. TUF is a little bit cheaper than ROG stuff. It is the little.
But without being cheap. I don't like the word
it's not cheap. I'm just like a little bit more affordable. Cheap. Yeah,
it's just it's the value is so.
It's a different tier, though. It is a different tier.
It absolutely. Well, that's why it has a different name. That's why it doesn't carry the ROG name, right? Correct. It is a completely separate line.
And like, you know, even just looking at past generation, TUF stuff was extremely well reviewed, better than ever. I feel this is a line
crazy
that's
popular.
just become more and more loved across the board. We do have more motherboards here. We have the ProArt. I actually saw people in chat waiting and asking to see the ProArt.
Oh, really? I wasn't going to talk about them today, but we can scroll through.
We can just kind of talk about it briefly.
It is a beautiful board.
It's
what a cool design.
More options, right? It's got a different aesthetic. It's got this very elegant aesthetic. It doesn't have that gamer look. It is definitely geared towards creators more than anyone else, with benefits there. And these are going to be high performance boards for, you know, your high end rendering, whatever you're doing. These boards will suit you phenomenally.
Yep. And then below that, we also have the Asus Prime boards. Again, this is not an ROG board, but it's here. We can mention it briefly. These are
really pretty. They did a really good job with the.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
This too. Yeah. The Prime.
Yeah. The Prime board is really cool looking, right?
Yeah,
this is nice. Kind of your like no frills, straightforward. Like I just need a motherboard that has
function.
That has the latest stuff, but doesn't. I'm not going to overclock. I'm not going to do all this other stuff. I just need a motherboard, and I don't have a ton of. My wallet does not have an overabundance of cash.
Yeah, this is as baseline as it gets, but it is just raw function, right? You know, it's going to do what you need it to do, and look good in the process.
Yep. So yeah, those are all of the boards we're announcing today. Or rather releasing tomorrow, because we've announced a lot of these before. It's been I know we've been like teasing a lot of this stuff as we've gone, and you guys have been waiting to really kind of see this stuff in action, and we're finally there. You can pick these up tomorrow at your favorite retailer. We are going to be showing them off this week. So again, tomorrow at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be doing a live build on stream on this channel. I've got all the parts here. I've got my ROG Helios case right over here ready to be built in. We're going to be building a 7900X system with the X670E Hero.
Let me just reiterate, this is our first time ever doing a live build on stream. And we could all be on fire tomorrow. I don't know.
It's not our first time doing a live build, but it's our first time doing a live build just us. Without like a huge like production team, and even more than that, it's me doing it at my house, and so I'm really flying by the seat of my pants.
It's gonna be
It's gonna be a good time. Just come ready for
I have
you
faith
never
in you.
know what's gonna happen.
All the pressure's on Whitson anyways. I just kind of like sit here and like laugh at him, be like, why'd you do that? But anyways, yeah, no, it'll be a good time. And then Wednesday we do have a special broadcast where we're gonna have Karl Anthony Towns, the NBA star, playing Fortnite with Booga, the Fortnite world champion. That's gonna be Wednesday on Twitch. And then Thursday we're gonna be doing overclocking, full on BIOS dive into this new build that Whitson will hopefully not fail tomorrow. If he breaks the PC, then we can't do the overclocking.
Don't manifest that. Oh my gosh. No, I've been kind of playing with some overclocking as I've had it on the test bench this week. And so I've got we can show off some of our AI overclocking features. I was like, it's funny. I was kind of deciding whether we wanted to do like this really in-depth, let's manually overclock everything old school way. And then I was like, that's not really the point of a lot of these boards with AI overclocking.
It's so good.
You can do the manual overclocking. You could push it. I mean, if you guys want to see some crazy overclocking, the AMD's own extreme overclocking team did a liquid nitrogen session on Gamers Nexus this week where they just overclocked the snot out of these CPUs. We're going to do the opposite of that. And we're going to say, you don't want to spend hours and hours overclocking. You can, but if you don't want to, we will show you the exact settings to tweak to basically get free performance with 5 minutes of work.
Yeah, that's what I like.
It is, yeah.
Get me back in the game. I want my build to be done, beautiful, and ready to go as soon as possible. I'm
typically more of a manual overclocker, but we've now reached the point where it doesn't even make sense for me to do that. You get
absolutely,
most of the way there with a couple tweaks.
I'm AI overclock all day now.
So I'm really excited to show that off on Thursday. We'll give some peeks at some of the more advanced features as well because they are really, really cool. But yeah, that'll be a fun stream. So that's Thursday at 3 p.m. Noon. My desk is not big enough to build a PC on because it's full of PCs and stuff. I have a big table I'm going to put back here.
Very good. I can't wait to see it. So
sorry, I was addressing something in chat. Someone's like, you should also have Roby on speed dial. Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea.
He's a legend, dude. Robotech is a god.
Guys, I don't want to give you the wrong idea. I've been building PCs nonstop for over a decade. I'm just also a moron. So you never know how it's gonna go.
Well, guys, this has been our initial deep dive into these motherboards. Obviously, we will be showing off and talking more about the CPUs, the Ryzen 7000 series, what they can do in the near future. Whitson's got one right there next to him. He's got a Ryzen 7900X waiting to be gamed with. I'm
gonna game with it today, actually.
Oh yeah,
he's got
tests. So and for those of you that are wondering, he's just got it on a test bench. He's got it open, living. He's been tinkering, and then the actual PC build will be tomorrow, where we get to see it all in its glory in that ROG Helios case. But till then, guys, 3 p.m. East Coast, and then Pacific time, it's going to be noon tomorrow. We'll be starting that live stream build. How long do you think it's going to take you,
dude? That's always the question.
You need to give me a time.
I'm always like, I could do this in an hour. It's gonna take 5. I told my wife last night. She was like, "How long are you gonna be streaming? Until 7 or 8?" And I was like, I hope that we're gonna be done in 3 or 4 hours max, right?
I'm gonna put some faith in you and say it's gonna take you 3.5 hours. That's gonna be my guess.
All right. I mean, I think I can do it. I've already worked with the motherboard a little bit. It's really just making sure that I can get everything in the case and fit the cooler in, and all that stuff. So
I think Robotech at PAX West did a build for Hiko in 2 hours flat, I think.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I think it was 2 hours flat.
He's probably built many more PCs than I. I've built a lot of PCs, but he's built a jillion PCs. So it's...
And maybe it was 3, but I thought it was an impressive speed.
No rest for the wicked says, expect 3 to 4 hours, plan for 9.
Yeah, well,
that's always how it goes. We might be visited by my wife bringing me dinner. My kids will come in and say goodnight to me. The dog will come up and be like, "What's going on up here?" Yeah, it'll be an interesting day. No, the OS is already installed, so I won't have to do any of that. I've already got the OS on a drive because I've been tinkering with it. You guys don't need to watch that happen. Although, man, it installed really, really fast.
It's insane how fast Windows installs now, especially with M.2s and PCI 5.0. And it's
I used to go watch TV while it was running, but I literally put it in, went to the bathroom, came back, and was like, it's done. What?
Could read a Lord of the Rings book by the time an old OS would install.
I know.
No.
I used to have a Rubik's Cube that I would do while my computer was booting,
Really?
like, before the days of SSDs and stuff. And now it's just like, yeah, it's up before I can blink.
No more DVD drives. Thank goodness. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for us here today. We will see you for the live build tomorrow. Don't miss it. GG's and take care.